Okay, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Evan Malloy. I am the current president of Preservation Dayton. I wanted to thank First Baptist Church. Angie and her husband Ken is the pastor here, and they graciously opened up this church not only tonight, but we have our monthly meetings here, and they let us use the space for free, and so I want to thank them. So they have been doing a really good preservation here. As you might have been able to see the steeple outside, they had that. It's still a work in progress. When is that supposed to be completed?
A couple months ago.
Sounds like all our renovations, right? And then they're currently working on their stained glass, restoring all the stained glass, which I'm sure you've heard about on the tour. So again, thank you to them. So I want to go ahead and just call the meeting to order. So the biggest thing that we are going to be doing today is, first of all, just introduce everybody to all of our trustees. So I will just call out everybody, and everybody can just stand and introduce themselves. Angie, do you want to go first?
Angie Burgess. I live in Grafton Hill. The Greek Orthodox Church is my playground backyard, and thankful that you're all here tonight. Thanks.
Okay, Fred Hawley is our Dayton View Historic District trustee, and he is unable to make it tonight. We have.
And before I forget, I know I will. Fred has been hospitalized. So those of you, I've got 2 of these cards because I know a lot of us will want to write a comment. So please try to remember, come up and share your get well wishes for Fred.
Okay, and then Joe Craig from 5 Oaks.
I'm Joe Craig.
Laura Siebold, Historic Huffman.
Hi, Laura Siebold, architect, resident of Huffman, former landmark commission member for in excess of 30 years. And a little homeowner for 30 years. Plus 32, 33 almost.
Evan Bambakides, he is our McPherson Town representative. I don't see him here. I don't believe he is here today. And Monica Snow.
I am from Oregon. Nice to meet you all.
Joe Durker, San Ann Hill.
Hello.
Karen Manovich, South Park. Chuck Johnson, Wright Dunbar.
Why Dunbar?
And landmarks.
Yeah, landmark.
Leah Konecki is one of our at-large trustees. She is unable to make it tonight. Rosie Miller is another one of our at-large trustees. She is unable to make it tonight. She is sick tonight, unfortunately. Keegan Sickles.
It's me.
Stephen Solomon, I don't think he's here yet. I think he said he would be late. He is an at-large trustee as well. Matt Tepper is an at-large trustee. He is not able to make it tonight. Mindy Wardell.
I don't stand. I'm just kidding. I'm Mindy.
And so that is our list of trustees that we have. So one of the things that we have is different committees. And I'm a member of the Events, Fundraising, and Membership Committee. And that consists of Rosie and Karen are the chairs. And me, Angie, Joe, Chuck, Jackie Morgan, who is not on the board, but she is a great volunteer, and Mindy Wardell are all part of that. And I just want to talk about this event that we put on last year. It was the Delco Sneak Peek, which I know, I see some familiar faces of people that came to that. That was, as a lot of you know, the building was Mendelssohn's for a very long time. And we were able to get in there right before they opened. Oh, Monica, this slide is very nice. The slide disappeared for a second. Sorry.
It did.
And Chuck Johnson was able to give a great talk about when he worked with Charles Kettering back in the day. And so that sold out. We had about 8 tickets, and that sold out very quickly. We had multiple people asking if they could still come, so that was a huge success for us. It got a lot of media coverage, and so that was one of our events from last year. Now, Joe will come up and talk about another event we did, the Preservation Day and Awards.
Hi there, yeah. My name is Joe Craig, and I am the Five Oaks representative. I'm also the Five Oaks Neighborhood Association president. And I had the opportunity to chair our Excellence in Preservation Awards event this past year in September. We recognized 11 individuals and groups in the Dayton region who really contribute to PDI's mission to promote, protect, and enhance our architectural heritage, its settings, and its contributions to quality of life in our region. Part of our recognition, you want to switch? We have, as I mentioned, 11 recipients. Our first recipient was a Lifetime Achievement Award, and this Lifetime Achievement Award went to John Gower. John Gower is a lifetime Daytonian and urban designer. He has made significant contributions to the city's revitalization through his work as a planner, community builder, and historic preservationist. Although you may not know John, you know his work. If you travel over the Main Street Bridge, the reimagining of Main Street and Monument, the private fair, the pedestrian-friendly, the reduction of traffic lanes in the early 90s was part of his overseeing with his work with the city, as well as the saving of the facades at the RTA Center at 3rd and Main Street, as well as many other contributions. Our at-large winners, we had 3 at-large winners this year. We had Crawford Hoyne and Woodard Development for the Delco. As previously stated in our slide on the Delco sneak peek, the Delco building was building number 2 plant, and it underwent a renovation redevelopment for mixed use by Woodard and Crawford Hoyne, finishing last year. 160 market rate apartments, 1 to 3 bedroom units. We had our tour. That included a really amazing top floor overlooking the city and downtown. Our other second at-large was the Miami County Courthouse preservation. Troy Historic Preservation Alliance stopped the demolition of the building, early 1840s building originally. They also saw the building through some tornado damage a few years ago as well. They've raised close to $1 million to reinvest in the building itself. And so they really did a lot of work to commit to the saving of this really historic building up in Miami County. Another at-large was Carly and Hamilton-Dixon, who turned this once vacant coal plant on East 3rd Street into a live music and event space. They've often had sold out shows, but they've done a lot to revitalize that corridor of East 3rd Street there, and a great space as well. We had 9 historic neighborhoods represented this year. In St. Anne's, we had Joe Durkers here as well, and Brian Young. They were the visionaries for the 5th Street Brew Club, and brought that to fruition with I believe they have close to 3,500 co-op members. It's the first co-op brewery in the state of Ohio. They turned this old 1880s grocery store into the main bar and restaurant area. We had also Oregon District, Tim and Shannon Patterson for multiple properties, including businesses and churches. If you know the Urban Crag, that was one of their early renovation projects. And Next slide. In McPherson Town Historic, we have Bob Brzezinski. Bob renovated several properties. He also spearheaded the infilling of 4 new properties in McPherson. He started the McPherson Home Tours, which are really popular at Christmas time, as well as the Hawthorne School apartment building, which was redeveloped in the 1990s. In Five Oaks, we had the Corpus Christi Parish for their historic stewardship of their 1811s church at the corner of Homewood and Forest Avenues. Last year, the church underwent a bit of renovation, including the replacement of their original roof with a pressed metal terracotta replica. In Dayton View, Elijah and Michelle Rashid, for 2 properties that they did, one on Grand Avenue and one on Superior, 2 properties that were really in bad condition. They were, one of which was on the tour in Dayton View Historic for this past year. And I think we have one more slide.
Oh, did you do both?
In Huffman, I'm sorry, Kathleen Tandy, for her retail space, Pink Moon Goods, which really transformed the corner of Huffman and 5th Street into a little lively retail area. Also, that building and a building across the street was renovated by Edmund Kittis, PDI trustee as well. Our Excellence in Preservation Awards, we really need to thank Cross Street Partners for their work and their contributions. I believe they supplied a lot of our food and drink. We also had Custom Frames, who provided us with a really substantial donation of framed awards. And then also the City of Dayton's Community Engagement Grant, as well as Alex Jackson of Dayton Architecture Instagram account, who took the pictures of our awardees. With that, I'll also thank the members of our committee, Karen Minovich, Rosie Miller, Mindy, and Evan. Thank you.
So I had the pleasure of being the pre-event speaker at the Boyer Mortuary for a members-only event that PDI had, which was fantastic. We had a nice crowd that came out, and then you got a free tour of the Boyer Mortuary, which that's not everybody's fun thing, you know, to go to a mortuary, but I was 17 years involved at Woodland Cemetery, so it was right up my alley to go to the mortuary, right, for that tour. So it was very interesting to see, you know, the shell of the building that it is, and then of course going upstairs and seeing, you know, where the family actually lived above the mortuary, and what could or could not be. Remember, it used to be a bookstore, it used to be a therapist's office. I think there were some lawyers in there as well. So it's had its run of businesses in there. Of course, probably the most well-known funeral service that took place there was the Orville Wright in 1948, but also Charles Kettering, Colonel Deed. So the Boyers, originally their mortuary was located where the federal bankruptcy building is today, there on 3rd Street. So they've been around for a long, long time. So anyways, it was a great PDI only event, and I hope that you'll come out for more as we are working to open other locations in and around the city as a sneak peek venue. Monica. Oh, sorry, you did it. And then I also had the pleasure of being a tour guide in Grafton Hill with with Matt Sauer, who's the president of the Grafton Hill Neighborhood Association, for the Dayton Society of Artists Tripod Camera Club photo walk. It was a beautiful day, and we took a walk through Grafton Hill, stopped at many of the awesome houses that we have in our neighborhood, talked about the who's who that lived there, gave house histories, and of course they spent probably about 2, maybe 2.5 hours walking through the neighborhood and taking photographs. So hopefully, I know that they were working on a project, so if you're involved with them, you may see those photographs out and about in the community soon, or if they're not already out there.
Another big part of this committee is fundraising, and one of the biggest ways that we get funds is through the City of Dayton mini grant. Each year, they offer $5,000 to nonprofits such as us and others, neighborhood associations, and we have utilized those over the past few years. In 2023 through 2024, we just finished up some videos for called Know Your Architectural Style, and those are on our website now. Monica did a lot of work, and Rosie Miller, to come up with these videos, do a lot of interviews. They're really good. If you are renovating a house, and it just talks about how to do it the correct way. We have interviews with contractors, homeowners who have done them, so they're very informative. So go to the website and look at those. This was our first mini grant that we wrote. This was our big one. This was our tour of all the historic districts. So we have, we're still in the process. Angie is working on Kenilworth and Five Oaks right now, but all the other 9 historic districts are on there. I'm sorry, the other 8 historic districts are on there. And you can scan a QR code and put in your earbuds and walk around the neighborhood and learn all about the different houses in the neighborhood. So we have plenty of brochures up here if you want to do that. You can also, if it's 10 degrees like today, you can do it from, we have all the pictures on the website. You can do it from the website. So we highly recommend you guys do that, and take a couple for some friends if you want to pass them out. We also got a $10,000 Montgomery Arts and Cultural District grant for Santa Clara murals, which Keegan spearheaded. And so we got a grant to paint the closed storefronts on the Santa Clara, 2 of the big buildings that are there. That we also just recently, thanks to help with Betsy Wilson for her house histories that she does, we got that approved to be on the National Register of Historic Places. So we just wanted to draw attention to those storefronts so that now they are eligible for historic tax credits. And that was a really big step for us. We also did this year, we are working on, Rosie is spearheading the 2024 mini grant, which is a live, work, and play in Dayton's historic districts. Trying to target people who live in those districts, letting them know kind of what amenities that they have downtown, and trying to help more people get involved with PDI as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Manovich, and also part of the same committee is membership. I'm the membership secretary, and thank all of you for joining PDI and renewing this year. We wouldn't exist without our members, and if you look over the last 5 years or so, we have worked to improve our engagement and our membership numbers, and already this year we're off to a great start with probably 75 was the total this morning. I think we're up probably close to 90 for 2025. We have seen a gradual build-up over the last several years. Originally, PDI was set up to assist and improve the City of Dayton historic districts, and in recent years we've expanded our membership out to outlying areas because of our advocacy and assistance with places like Troy, Kettering, with individual buildings that were threatened. So we are seeing members now coming into PDI from beyond the City of Dayton. How many here today are from outside the City of Dayton? Not a clear majority yet, but we're happy to have them and happy to assist them with our expertise. We had a big surge in 2023. I believe that was in response to some of the Traxo Mansion news. But we're down last year in 2024, and you'll see a more active and aggressive solicitation for renewals from us. You don't have to worry because you've already renewed, but we would like to encourage more of the historic district residents to join us. How many people here are in the historic districts, live in the districts? Okay, I'm asking you to pick up one of these postcards today before you leave, maybe 3 or 4, and give them out to your neighbors and encourage them to join us. There are many concrete benefits for being a member, but as a long-term member myself, I think the greatest value as a historic district resident is the advocacy and support that PDI gives the neighborhoods in their challenges in meeting modern-day problems. So please continue to renew, continue to join, and pick up a postcard and invite your neighbors to join us as well. Thank you.
This is a hot mic. I'm good. So marketing and media, Steve Solomon, he heads up this. He has a fabulous and wonderful media outlet list that we send everything, all of our announcements to. This meeting was picked up by Dayton Daily News, Local Focus Dayton Daily News, as well as It's Great in Dayton from Charlie Campbell. I just love him to death. So he's really good about picking things up and doing that for us. So we are going to ask people to, the members to be ambassadors for Preservation Dayton, to take brochures. If you own a business or have a location that you frequent, please take some of our brochures and place them in those businesses, because the more that we can get people to understand what it is that we're doing, the better it is for you, for the community, Dayton community as a whole. We also want people to take pride in their historic neighborhoods. We have so many empty houses that could become available, and we want local ownership of those houses. It's really important that we have people living in those homes to make a neighborhood vibrant and for people to get involved in those neighborhoods. So that's what we're going to be pushing that message out for. And then of course we also work with other committees, not only internally but externally as well, with the cities, with the priority boards, with the landmark commissions, with a lot of the government entities, so that they understand that we want to partner with them throughout the cities. And then we also, again, through traditional radio and print, a lot of print, digital and social media, that is the same, that's been happening too. So we just have been sending out the constant contacts, so hopefully you're registered to receive those, and we can do a more comprehensive announcement and link to stories and other things that are happening. We even had people vote absentee ballot through the constant contact messaging board, so that is good as well. We also maintain the regional media outlet list. Steve writes our press releases. We have photos that are going out. So when people are going out and speaking, like Chuck, who was at Delco, and we have these fantastic photos that get out, that's something that we can put on Facebook and Instagram, and so we're hitting a lot more people. The Preservation Award winners, that is also a fabulous opportunity to showcase the people that are getting involved, and of course their networks, so it's branching out. And then we, of course, like I stated, the new newsletters that are coming out via Constant Contact will be more inclusive and have a lot more opportunities for you to click and see more stories and whatnot. And again, using the absentee ballot, we may do surveys and we may ask questions, and so we want you to participate in those when you receive them. Oh, community speaking engagements. So I have been out, Chuck and Monica have given community programs at the Dayton Women's Club. Chuck Johnson went out to the Mound Cold War Discovery Center. Chuck Johnson has did Pecan fabulous event, and Chuck Johnson's just out there. He's the man. He is the man. He gets out of Right Dunbar and gets out there, but he does a lot of those. Monica, of course, has, and others have gone on DATV's programming, President's Club, Columbus Landmarks Conference. Monica has been to that. I know Evan was there as well. So we are out there, and if you want to get involved with that, if you have a penchant for media and marketing, you know, we'd love to have you join our group and to help us out.
So I'm Keegan Sickles. I am not Fred Holland, but I am filling in today. So our committee members for the Endangered Properties Committee are Joe Dirkers, Michael Jacobs, and Monica Snow, as well as myself and Fred. As you can see, we've had a couple of wins and losses. So these were the original 10 properties that we selected when we launched back in 2021. As you can see, 3 of those have been demolished. And 3 of those have been repaired. We'll go into a little more detail about those. But the goal this year is to open that process back up so we can fill out our list again. So if you have properties in mind that you really love and need a little love, keep them in mind when that goes live. So a property that was saved and highlighted on the Dayton View Historic Tour this year is the Thomas Tucker House. The wraparound porch was collapsing and it was completely removed and rebuilt. You'd never know. It's a great opportunity to showcase what can be done to save these properties. Endangered properties that have been repaired and are being stabilized. Michael Neal House was stabilized. It's still in legal limbo. And then the Leopold Rao House has been stabilized and boarded, and the owner is working on doing some major repairs there as well. Endangered properties where the repairs have stalled. If you're familiar with Salem Avenue, you know this building, the Van Diemen Apartments. They had replaced the roof structure, but did not put a permanent roof on it, so it's still tarped and tar papered. It's still in rough shape. It's not saved yet, but progress was made. There was a recent auction, and I'm not sure what the results were of it, but all of the signs are still out front for the old company. So we will continue monitoring those as we go. Wanted to take another little minute to talk about the Santa Clara Business District. As you'll see in our financials, this was a big year for Santa Clara. As was mentioned earlier, we got a grant to get the business district listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It's a multi-year project, so thanks to Brainwave Connection and Betsy Wilson House Histories.
Right there.
For making that
Did you take a stand here tonight?
Yes, ma'am. And that was made possible through a $12,000 grant from the Ohio Department of Development. In addition to, we talked about the murals, and those are the first step in some of the city's plans. So as many of you know, the city has corridor plans for various sections of the city, and they created a checklist of things that we should be doing to achieve those goals. And so we didn't see a lot of progress being made, so we took that first step. So we found a loophole in the city of Dayton's code that allows murals to be painted on property that you can get owner's permission for. Well, these properties were fully boarded to the brim with City of Dayton blackboards, and we decided that we were going to make them look a little prettier. So we got a $10,000 grant from the Montgomery County Arts and Culture District to put storefronts and beautify those windows to look like windows again, and put up signs for businesses that used to be on the corridor, like a hardware store and a movie theater, etc. So you can see some of that activity here, and it's also on our website. The theater building in that left photo recently went to a tax foreclosure auction, and we've been in contact with the new owner of the building who owns several of the other buildings on the corridor to work on capital stack, including the newly available historic tax credits to find a way to get those buildings back up to snuff and to hopefully revitalize that district. We wanted to thank the Hillview Neighborhood Association for their $100 contribution to an anti-graffiti shield that we had to put up. So to date, we've gone out to repaint these murals like 5 times. So it's a real struggle that we're trying to address. And then we also received a Good Neighbor Award from PROC for the work that we were doing to bring attention to the neighborhood and to put it on the right path. Still endangered, the Dayton Daily News building, unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can do to help that along. Andrew has been very helpful in monitoring the activity going on at the building and to make sure that it's secure and boarded. And the Reynolds Mansion, we go out and monitor as well. It continues to deteriorate. The owner that purchased it within the last year has done a little bit of work on it, but parged the entire back corner of it in concrete. So we got the city of Dayton involved to make sure that those issues get addressed and that they work with the owner to get all of that rectified. And then last and not least, we just wanted to talk a little bit about the history of our work with the Traxler Mansion. For those of you who live in the neighborhood that know, there are crews out there actually this week cleaning up the rest of the pile. So we worked with the owners before the tax foreclosure and brought them potential buyers. We tried to match make for them. We offered to get security cameras and minimal electric lighting so that it would be safer. We also did research in the tax foreclosure process to get an $80,000 lien for an unrelated bank robber removed from the foreclosure proceedings. So that was fun, digging through hundreds of pages of documents to find birthdays to prove that they were 2 separate people. We also continually called housing to make sure that it was boarded as well. And then finally, after pushing it through the tax foreclosure process, which stalled and had to restart because originally this house sat on 4 parcels and only 2 of them were part of the foreclosure. About halfway through that process, we realized that they weren't going to be able to go through with the sale because it wasn't going to have a clean title at the end because of the portico shares encroachment, and so they restarted the process over again to include all 4 parcels, and that's when the fires occurred. So. After the first fire, we secured footage of the remains to determine what we could do to move forward. We contacted several companies about stabilization to see if it could be rebuilt from the ruins. So fortunately, it stood the first day. We contacted a company out of Cincinnati, SSRG, who came up and gave us a $700,000 estimate to what's called a gray box. So it's securing the doors and windows, decking off each floor of the house, and putting a dimensional roof on it so that it was dry and stable for future reuse. And unfortunately, a couple of weeks after we got those initial plans in, a second fire occurred in the rubble and the building had to be demolished. During that time, we also researched various archives to find the original blueprints for the building, and we didn't find them. But we also talked to its sister house up in Piqua, and then we found out that there's a third house in upstate New York that had a full set of architectural drawings for their house, which is slightly different, but it's amazing if you look on the website. We've got kind of the side-by-sides of all of the sister houses as well. So we got a LiDAR scan of the building, so it's a 3D rendering of how it existed after the first fire in case anybody wanted to rebuild it. And so there's this basic Revit model that talks about kind of how you would rebuild the shell. Originally, we thought maybe we could save it and turn it into condos or leave it as a ruin for open air event space. So those were some of the ideas that got thrown around, but unfortunately, we weren't able to move forward with any of those. So the last nail in the coffin, for those of you who are familiar, the carriage house still remained after the fire, but there was a Jaguar in the garage, and somebody decided that they really needed the Jaguar out of the garage, and so they illegally came, hauled it out the wrong garage door, dislodged the center supporting post, and made the building unstable. And so, unfortunately, the carriage house was not able to be saved either, despite some of the work that we did with the land bank to find contractors to be able to stabilize it. So it will be a clean site. The city of Dayton and the land bank are splitting the cost to clean it up. So hopefully we can move forward in the future and get some compatible infill that pays homage to the site's history. Additionally, so this is one of the, our first losses was the Gem City Ice Cream Building. So it was demolished, but the condos that are replacing it, as you've seen, are very much up. That they've got house ramp on them now. So they're historically compatible with what was there before. So we worked with the developers and provided input at the various stages to make sure that the building reflected what the neighborhood needed and what was there previously. So the buildings will have some slightly different designs. There are 4 buildings with 26 units between the 4. And so you'll see those going up and getting finished here shortly. Some of the other properties that weren't on our list but we lost in 2024 were the First Church of Christ Scientist. It was owned by UD and was purchased, or a UD LLC affiliate. It was purchased from the UD LLC and demolished. We worked with this, the UD LLC to try and contact them and let them know that there were historic tax credit opportunities to save the building, but unfortunately it was demolished as well. And then St. Anthony's Catholic School was also demolished this year despite our efforts to also try and intervene and sell the value of the historic tax credits and rehabilitation versus demolition. So the First Church of Christ is supposed to be replaced with a single-family home. The St. Anthony School will be a very nicely decorated parking lot when it's done.
Yeah, we've been working with the school district and the school board at D.L. Barnes. We initially, when the newspaper announced that it was going to be torn, they were planning to demolish it. We've sent them 2 letters. The people really that we owe credit to behind the scenes are Dayton History and the Shevitz Family Foundation. So we've been coordinating with them to make sure we're not stepping on any toes. And if you've seen the latest headlines about 6 months ago, the decision has been delayed not to demolish it. I did have a quick conversation with Brady Press, who's kind of leading that effort, and he said, we're hoping for good news. So that was another building, as Angie said, that we reached out to, and heard Karen said in the suburbs. Joe, do you want to talk about Second Church?
The Second Church of Christ Scientist stands in 5 Oaks on the corner of Belmont Park North and Grand Avenue on the Kettering Health Dayton campus or Grandview campus. And earlier this year, I'm the neighborhood president of 5 Oaks Neighborhood Association, and the president of Grafton Hill, Matt Sauer, and I met with the CEO of Kettering Health Dayton, who mentioned that they were interested in tearing the church down for a parking lot. And so collectively, Grafton Hill Neighborhood Association, 5 Oaks Neighborhood Association, and Preservation Dayton sent letters asking leadership at Kettering Health to reconsider, and we met with them a couple times. Last month we met with them again, and they shared that they are reconsidering keeping the building. They want to get a congregation to use the church. There is a congregation that uses the church. but they would like to go in a long-term agreement for a lease. And then they're also interested in actually taking a couple homes, resident properties that they own, tearing those down to create additional parking. So sort of keeping the church, but reconsidering other options. So that's a pretty good news there on that front.
So with your support for saving these properties, we'll talk about this in a little bit too, but Preservation Dayton primarily is an advocacy organization, and so we made the decision to stand up another nonprofit, CDC, called Preservation Works, that will be able to take on properties and fulfill that mission to be able to actually intervene and purchase properties where necessary, and then to be able to do the rehab and to roll this forward into a revolving fund. So currently, we have a link on our website to our Endangered Properties Fund with Preservation Dayton. With our board's permission, we'll be reaching out to these donors and asking if we will be able to transfer those funds to Preservation Works with the donor restrictions that they have put on those funds to be able to work on some of these most endangered properties so that we can protect our advocacy arm as much as possible and still be able to do some of the work to save our historic buildings.
So our Endangered Committee needs a round of applause, especially Keegan. Keegan and Alton both have been out there repainting those murals in all kinds of weather. It's too cold right now and chasing off the vandals who keep wanting to put the graffiti on. So policy and advocacy, you can see here who the members are. Evan Stanhurdle, who's not here tonight. Stan lives in University Row. He's a retired able attorney who did a lot of the heavy lifting for our vacant property registration. Laura, Leah, Keegan, and Matt Tepper, who was unable to join us tonight. So saving properties is more than just loving wonderful, beautiful architecture and our heritage and the people who created our culture and our history before. It's really about trying to improve especially Rust Belt cities like our city that have suffered so much in terms of predatory lending. This is a sad place to be, but Dayton actually on a per unit basis has more vacant properties than any other Ohio city. So we were really hit hard by the predatory lending event that happened in 2008. We all are seeing that the city's trying to really do a great job tearing down and cleaning up fire piles. We just talked about the Traxler Mansion. At the very end of Squirrel and Forest, where Craig lives and Stephen Solomon, who's joining us later, we lost a beautiful Dutch colonial just about 6 weeks ago. So the city can't keep up. You know, these are numbers from last year, started with 111 fire piles. They ended the year with 112 fire piles, and I'll ask for updated statistics on that, but it's whack-a-mole. I just read today in the paper that there were 2 more fires. And I do have to add, the Dutch colonial at the end of Squirrel was actually featured as one of the ideal examples of a Dutch colonial in our blueprint for rehabilitation, which governs the guidelines for our historic districts. The other issue is that more than half of the fires that are set by arsons. So you're trying to keep people out. I mean, we presume that's what happened with the Traxler. It was whack-a-mole, trying to keep the vandals out, no matter how much you called, no matter how much the city boarded. And then in addition, it impacts the neighboring houses. Where Laura lives, just up on, it was East 4th, right, just on the edge of Huffman, 4 houses burned, but the fire was so violent, it damaged the houses next door, the siding on the houses across the street. So it's a huge issue. So what does light really mean? It affects our public health, it affects our individual wealth, and it costs tons of money for us taxpayers in terms of first responder calls, arson, fire, police, reboarding, vandals. The Cleveland Federal Reserve did a study, and it your house is within 500 feet of a vacant property, your property values are going to go down by almost 10%. So it's affecting all of us. In 2016, Toledo's been on top of this just as long as Dayton has. But they spent $3.8 million alone. I've never gotten a number for the city, but it would really be interesting to look at fire, police, and code enforcement calls for vacant properties. But we all know it's massive. There's been a really leading research effort over more than 20 years at the University of Pennsylvania, led by an emergency doctor physician named Eugenia South. Her team and she are published everywhere, and they have shown time and time again, for every dollar you spend, a city or a municipality spends on remediating vacant properties, you can save up to $333 in terms of first responder calls and other associated costs. So she's done several controlled trials, just cleaning up vacant lots, doing structural repairs to homes, and then actual full remediation where you're turning lights on a block in a vacant house. I just heard today when I was driving up for the meeting, the city of Toledo's mayor was on and the radio. And Toledo is one of the Ohio cities and one of the leading cities in the country where all kinds of violent crime, homicide, any kind of violent crime has plummeted 30% since COVID in the last 3 years. And it was a multi-pronged approach, but one of the things that he mentioned was really cleaning up blighted properties and addressing vacant properties in their city. So this is what it looks like in our city. If you go to the Dayton Montgomery public health site, there's a whole section on how the built environment affects our safety and our quality of life and our emotional and mental health. So you map the red line map, which is at the top, and heat map with where the vacant properties are in our city, and you can see that it's no accident. We're still living with the ravages of redlining in our community. So what are we trying to do about it? You've heard about our education, our events. We've been advocating now for the last 3 years to implement a vacant property ordinance. As I mentioned, Stan Hurdle did a lot of the research. We researched over 14 Ohio cities that have a vacant property ordinance. The Ohio Public Policy Group indicates that the 3 best features of an effective vacant property ordinance is number 1, to identify and have the owners registered. Number 2, make sure that there are escalating fees that are added on with a cap for every year that the property owner either hasn't brought the property up to code, and some cities actually also require the property owner to have an active reuse plan that they're making progress toward, or an active selling plan to have it listed with a realtor or actively trying to sell it. So we started with the city in December through the first quarter of 22-23 with city staff, met with all the commissioners, the manager. Some of the pushback we got was, oh, that's great. The cities you all researched are smaller cities like Springfield. Springfield's had a really good ordinance for a number of years. So last year, the city of Cleveland implemented a huge vacant property registration ordinance. So we went back to the city and said, hey guys, can't use that excuse anymore. So we have made some progress. One of the key things that the city needed to do first, and they just passed this ordinance in December and went down on behalf of Preservation Dayton to get the commission to support it, is to implement a civil penalties ordinance. Prior to this, if your inspector came out to your neighborhood and the property was owned by an LLC, he had no recourse. We could only bring individual private citizens to criminal court. The good news is that's been passed finally. This was passed last year and implemented last year. The hope is to get it implemented in first quarter. That's going to then, the city staff has told us, and the city manager, give us the infrastructure then to move forward, we hope, with the vacant property registration. We also really have been working hard to take a look at what looks like sort of these innocuous, unimportant zoning code amendments. We kind of learned our lesson. We supported the Dayton View neighborhood and University Row. We'll talk about that in a minute. There were some changes that were made to the zoning code that looked like they had no impact. We got involved this year, and we really worked hard to try to help neighborhoods with retaining our place-based character, and we've learned that from our patron saint over there of preservation, John Gower. So one of our purposes in our Constitution is to facilitate the growth of historic districts and their contiguous neighborhoods. So we worked with South Park to try to get some design changes to Liberty School. You can see that looks like at best maybe a doctor's office that belongs in Centerville or Washington Township. We supported Dayton View and University Row to try to get some changes made to the Cambridge Denmark. This is what the current structure looks like. This is what they want to put up next door. We made the point with the city that we as taxpayers have done extensive studies and paid urban design associates to do a plan for all of our quadrants of our city. So why are we doing these plans? This is what the corner of Wayne and Wyoming where Liberty School was supposed to go. That was what was supposed to go into that corner. This is probably what we're going to get. I mentioned the zoning codes. I won't bore you with this. It's all very technical, but Preservation Dayton was present, sent letters in November, and then just in January, thanks, Karen and Mark were there also advocating on behalf of PDI in South Park. Originally, they wanted to change the zoning process and approval for 3 to 4 unit family homes based on whether that building had been used as a multifamily prior to 2006. We took down at least a dozen examples in Oregon, South Park, Senior Avenue, where during World War II, many houses were illegally changed. So we won on that one. We also were able to stop ADUs by right. They listened to us on that. We didn't win so much. ADUs can still be approved by a minor COA by the preservation officer. We won at landmarks review. Didn't win too much on the building height, and then didn't win too much on zoning administrator's authority. So we're down in the weeds. I know my eyes glazed over when it came to zoning code amendments too. So we are on the Dayton Housing Policy Committee. There's 2 neighborhood representatives who are on the committee, and I'm supposed to be the chair of the Housing Preservation Group, looking at ways that other best practices in cities to help low-income people in historic districts maintain their homes. Before I die, I want us to be like the Cleveland Restoration Society. The National Trust for Historic Preservation bows down to them. They're rural powerhouses. They have a huge multi-million-dollar program for heritage home programs, so I'm hoping we can get there someday.
So as you can all tell by that presentation, we do a lot of work, and just this past year, but just in general, we have a lot of great volunteers, and so we can also cannot do it without your guys' membership. So you guys being here really means a lot. So in 2025, this is just a couple of things that we are looking forward to this year. We want to educate in 2025. We want to do some more walking tours. PDI reached out to Andrew Walsh, and who has written some great tours on downtown already. We thought, why recreate the wheel? We already have something. Let's use those. So that's one thing that we are planning for this year. We want to do potentially like a weekly tour that's free to members, just to help increase our membership. So if you guys are all members, look out for that, and you're welcome to come on those. Like I said, Angie is doing a great job working on the final walking tours that will be added to our brochure when those are completed. Also, the Dayton Society of Artists and the Tripod Camera Club, we did tours with them before, and we want to continue some more of those. And then just to find other places to place our walking tour brochures. If you know any businesses or doesn't have to be in Dayton, it can be anywhere in the Miami Valley, and you think that they would be a good place to be putting these brochures to hand out, just let us know. We can get you a stack to put there. We also want to just to finish the videos and do a few more of the architectural style videos. We started a newsletter which Stephen Solomon, who's here now, worked on, and we will continue to try to put out potentially a quarterly newsletter and to do more on social media, so look out for that. We also are doing some more community outreach. Me and Monica just a couple weeks ago went to the Kettering Recreation Center, their senior center there, did a presentation there. And then we have a Salem Avenue Business Association lunch that we will be presenting at later this month. And then Sinclair's reached out to us about participating in their architecture week, so we will be there for that. Also, some more marketing campaign to people who live in the suburbs, just trying to get them to see what our downtown is more than just Fifth Street in the Oregon District. We have a lot of really great things downtown, so just to campaign. So advocate, we want to revamp our top 10 most endangered list. That list is about 3 or 4 years old. Some of them, as you saw, have been demolished. And so when we do that, we will do posts on Facebook, and we want people who are members, if people know any buildings that they think should be nominated, and we will compile a list that way. Then we will continue to find developers to monitor security for current endangered properties and sites. We will continue to advocate for the pro-preservation policies in development. Like Monica said, the city has adopted it. It hasn't started yet, but we hope it will start this quarter. And then we will continue to monitor for landmarks, commission, zoning, and plan board agendas, just to make sure that the city's plans are following kind of what they should be, and just making sure that if they haven't taken some of these historical architecture thoughts when they are coming up with them, that they really try to include those in those plans. There's a bench, the Joe Wine bench, that we are working on finding a new spot for. He was a commissioner during Dayton's civil rights challenges, and so he is a great figure in Dayton's history. And right now it was moved while they're revamping Sunrise and Sunset Park, so we are working with Five Rivers Metro Park and finding a permanent home for that bench. So stuff we want to celebrate in 2025. We will have our annual preservation awards later on this year. There's a couple sneak peeks that we're potentially interested in. The North Arcade, which is going to be a new hotel, and the actual architectural arcade part of the arcade. And so that should be opening up in the next few months, and we were going to try to get in there and see if we could have an event in there before it's officially open as a sneak peek. And then also the No Tower, which is opening up soon as well. One date to mark down on your calendars is June 19th. At Fifth Street Brew Pub, we are going to be doing, we're going to be guest bartenders or servers, and so all of the sales, 10% of all the sales of that night, I believe it's from 5 to 9, but PDI will get 10% of all those sales. So, like I said, make sure to mark down that June 9th or June 19th. I know it's a while away, but.
I have the fun slide. So as you heard, it's been a very, very busy year for Preservation Dayton. Our revenue for the year was $41,000, which was significantly more than we historically have had. The three biggest sources of those funds, as you can see on the left, that first big blue chunk is the Department of Development grant for the Santa Clara Business District. That orange chunk is the Montgomery County Arts and Culture District grant. And then that gray chunk is our City of Dayton mini grant. So as you can see, those are kind of the largest sources of funds that we have. Our fund funding expenses this year were also in line with all of our activities. So 70% of our funds, almost $39,000 in expenses went towards preservation projects. So that was 70%. Another 19% went to our advocacy for the neighborhoods and walking tour brochures and mailers out to residents. And then another 6% there is in our awards and recognition category. So those are kind of the three biggest areas that we worked in this year. The preservation projects, again, that we worked on are primarily in the Santa Clara area. And then we also provided a donation to the church here for their window restoration fund of $500. So that is our activity for the year. We ended the year with $6,400, but we have a lot of grants receivable that have not yet been received. So total assets are just shy of $20,000 for preservation fee.
And then technically this is a business meeting, and so we do need to also just approve those minutes. So we have a trustee that is, that moves to approve treasurer's report.
I move that we approve the treasurer's report.
And another trustee seconds. Joseph seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so that moves. All the trustees, I sent out the meetings, or the minutes from our last meeting by email yesterday, so you should have gotten those. So again, just to approve last meeting's minutes, the trustee. Okay, Karen?
Second.
Laura?
Did we lose our power? Beam us up, Scotty. I don't either. Did it come and plug the power? Want you to just pull it out and try it? We're gonna have to wing it.
And say all that's left is the elections, or no, the members.
Yep, that's it, the elections.
Yeah, all that's left is the elections, which everybody should have gotten.
If you didn't and you are a paid member, we have extra. I know we had a few folks come in.
So I can read everybody's bios for the 5 trustees. We have 5 trustees positions and 5 people running for them. So we also can take nominations from the floor. Like I said, we have 5 people, 5 open positions and 5 people running. But if there is anybody interested, technically our bylaws say we can take nominations to be a trustee from the floor. So are there any nominations from the floor to be a trustee? Okay. So our first trustee at large position for running is Cedric Howard. Cedric is the Community Relations Manager for Oak Street Health, a division of CVS where he manages a team of 6 and is responsible for marketing and collaboration with clients, local community leaders, and stakeholders. He is the founder and event coordinator for the Making Memories Golf Classic, the major fundraiser for the Alzheimer's Association, Miami Valley Chapter. The annual event for the past 11 years has grown to 300 golfers and volunteers and raised $33,500 last year. Cedric recently organized another, sold-out fundraiser for the Alzheimer's Association, which featured AC Green, a former basketball great for the Los Angeles Lakers World Champions. He also serves on several nonprofit boards and was recognized this January as one of the 10 local African American men for his contributions to the Dayton region by Parity Incorporated. a Dayton nonprofit promoting diversity in local business. Cedric holds a bachelor's in business management from Bowling Green University and has in-depth experience in industry and county government. Cedric, do you want to stand?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Because we still have the PowerPoint.
It is on mine.
We're not sure why we have a technical malfunction, because the computers don't explain it, not the projector. Do you want me to read you?
Sure.
So, Evan has served as trustee and volunteer since PBI's reorganization in 2019. A bit of history, like every nonprofit, we wax and wane, and Cheryl Bates, who had been our longtime treasurer, said, I'm not following any more IRS and as Secretary of State things. Let's either put a stake in this thing's heart or keep it going. And so through the magic of social media in 2018, actually, Burgess, we met in your building first, and then over at Wright Dunbar. We had about 35 people show up, some old-timers. God rest his soul, like John C., who's the real pioneer up in St. Anne's, and new-timers like Keegan Sickles, my adopted son. And lo and behold, we have revitalized this organization thanks to young, dynamic leaders like Evan. So he also served as our president this year under duress because new leadership has to take over because some of us are just getting too old. And he's been a member of our events and fundraising and membership committee. He's done countless hours of volunteer work for the walking tour brochures. He leafleted every house that was on the original National Register inventories and the business districts. He also obtained a mini grant in his Walden Hills neighborhood where he bought and renovated his first house. And then he recently moved to Dayton View, has been on their home tours and done mini grants to landscape their traffic circles. He's originally from Massachusetts, as is Burgess. He has an RN from Cedarville University, that's what brought him here, and he's the clinical logistics coordinator at Children's. So that is up.
Okay, Rosie Miller, she's unfortunately not able to be here tonight. She is sick. So, but Rosie has been an active member of PDI since 1993 when she moved to Huffman Historic District. She led efforts to revitalize Preservation Dayton and serve as vice president from 2019 through 2023. Rosie has secured $28,000 through 4 City of Dayton mini grants and 3 community engagement grants, and is a member of PDI's Events, Fundraising, and Membership Committee. In addition to PDI, Rosie served 4 years on the Northeast Land Use Committee and currently serves on the City of Dayton Planning Board. She is a member of the Historic Huffman Neighborhood Association and has held numerous positions for nearly 30 years. Rosie worked with then Mayor Mike Turner to bring the 1995 Rehab-A-Rama to Huffman, resulting in the restoration of 8 historic homes. She also convinced the Dayton Philharmonic Volunteer Association to elect 42 Linden Avenue as the 1999 Designer Showcase House. So that was Rosie. This is Keegan Sickles. Keegan has served as a PDI trustee and digital media director since 2020. He inspired the preservation community with educational and advocacy updates and has promoted the value of preservation to reach 162,000 social media accounts, engaged 5,900 Facebook and 2,200 Instagram followers, and 26,000 unique web visitors in 2024. He also secured the $10,000 grant funding to paint murals on the boarded-up storefronts in the Santa Clara Historic District. His interactive map of Dayton's historic neighborhoods and landmarks is a valuable web resource for the entire region. He served as PDI's treasurer for 2024 and is a member of 3 PDI committees: Marketing and Media, Policy and Advocacy, and Endangered Properties. Keegan lives in the Dayton View Triangle with his wife Elizabeth and 3 children.
Oops. Okay, with it. Yeah.
As past president and current treasurer of the Dayton View Triangle neighborhood, he led efforts to energize the neighborhood association, successfully listed Dayton View Triangle on the National Register of Historic Places, and raised funds to have the neighborhood's beloved Zapp mural repainted. He holds a bachelor's degree in finance and accounting and a master's degree in accounting from Wright State University. He works as a senior financial analyst at CareSource. And last is Chad Wyckoff. Chad relocated from New York City to Dayton in 2013 and currently serves as marketing director for a local manufacturing company where he is responsible for the development and execution of marketing communications, plans, and budgets across 4 brands. With a background in film and television production in New York, Chad has a passion for historic preservation and restoration. He has successfully restored his own home and began working on another historic property in the Dayton View Historic District. His historic home and the benefits of living in Dayton were featured in the Wall Street Journal in 2023. Chad has long been involved in preserving history, volunteering with organizations such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art and his family's Wyckoff's Farmhouse Museum, the oldest surviving structure in New York City. In Dayton, he has served as vice president of the Dayton View Historic District for 8 years and is actively engaged with various nonprofit initiatives through the community. Chad holds a bachelor's from Kansas State University in English, Film Studies, and Creative Writing, and completed coursework in film at Columbia University.
Mr. President.
Joe, go ahead.
Mr. President,
Joe.
based on the high quality and humbling history and background of these candidates, I move that they be elected by acclamation.
I second.
All in favor?
Please stand and clap.
Three returning trustees and 2 new trustees. Cedric Howard and Chad Wyckoff, congratulations. And so I make a motion to adjourn.
I second. Yeah, there's some announcements just for you. Sharon, everybody before we leave, we'll have neighborhood announcements, and Sharon has been a long time, very supportive member from the Dayton Society of Interior Designers, and she would like to make an announcement.
Yes, trying to make it quick. The Dayton Society of Interior Designers are going to do a show house in Fairborn this spring. The Philharmonic Volunteer Association no longer exists, and so there will not be any show houses like they do. This opportunity kind of fell in our laps. They are celebrating in Fairborn 75 years of being a town. And you may or may not know, at one time there were 2 towns, Fairfield and Osborne, and the dam went in, and the city of Osborne, eventually, as many houses as possible were moved over to marry with Fairfield, and it became the city of Fairborn. So they're celebrating 75 years, and we are doing a show house there. It is a 1923 Tudor style, fairly small and modest on the outside, but with outstanding plasterwork inside. The owner was a master plasterer, and it's beautiful. It's going to be transformed by 16 designers, and the city of Fairborn is supporting this wholeheartedly. And there will be all all kinds of other activities, including a pop-up art gallery and a cafe, and also you'll be able to tour the Phoenix Theater there, which is being revitalized. So we would love it if you would support that. And,
What's the date?
the date is, the gala is going to be April 25th, and the show will be open from April 26th through May 11th. And I have a few.
There's no, Rex would like to, I think you were first, Rex, right? Did you want to make enough? Oh, you did.
I wanted to make it nice from what I'm saying about.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
thought there was questions.
No, you were.
No, I was gonna comment.
Go ahead. Good evening, folks. I'm new to Preservation Dayton, and it seems like an amazing situation you guys got going on here, but I'm actually from Grace United Methodist Church. If everybody knows where Grace is, over off of Salem, what we're doing is we actually have an art gallery built right into the church, and we're trying to look for different ways to get more foot traffic in, not only in the church, but through the art gallery. So the reason why I came here, Monica, I spoke with her in depth on some ideas of how to get more foot traffic in the church. And you were talking about walking tours, Evan, and stuff like that. I would like to announce in any way I can to support Preservation Day in your walking tours, with doing walking tours through the church, through Grace United Methodist Church. So again, my name is Rex. If you have any questions, please see me before you leave. But I really appreciate some support in helping this idea we're having for Grace United Methodist Church. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, no, it was just, I just had a fun fact. She mentioned that they were opening with the Phoenix Theater in Fairborn. And she mentioned that the city's anniversary, that was the first building in Fairborn to show the new sign that said the city of Fairborn. It was the Phoenix Theater. Yeah.
So I have a challenge for all of you. We had, 62,000 followers, something like that. So we have to beat history of Daytonians and get 90,000 and beat Andrew. So bark or not, I think we're all ready for a drink.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay, so yeah, you can stay where you're parked. It's just right on the other side of the parking lot. So,
And it had the projector worked. We were ready to show, a lot of people worked on this video, that we were featured at the film festival at Heritage, Ohio, the statewide conference, and it kicks off with an interview with Fred Hawley and an interview with Evan LaVoy and Mayor Mims. And then a couple in our neighborhood, military couple, they put our housing code enforcement committee out of work. Jana Fornio and Kyle, I'm having it's a different name. But Jana was featured as a young family who's renovated 4 really problem properties in Oregon. So it's out there on the web. We'll put it up on Facebook. That's a good way to share it. Share it on YouTube and like it on YouTube too. Time for drinks.
Oh, I forgot. Hey, just an FYI. Hey, so while the historic window was shipped out and was being redone, we actually had pieces. And I don't know, Ken, how many are back there? 50, 60?
About 45, I think.
45, okay. And this is just one, but we have, it's on a plexiglass, and anybody that's creative, we have different styles, and we'd like to make it a fundraiser to help, so if anybody's interested, go talk to Mr. Burgess over there, Reverend Burgess, and he can take you back and show you where the remainder of the pieces are. So this would make some great artwork, and anybody that has any kind of creativity could do something really fun with these pieces. So we have those available. Also, We also have some postcards from Preservation Dayton, packages of 24 for $5. So something that we just like to get going. Otherwise, out the door to Bar Granada, and let's get some tequila and get warm. Yes, Jeff?
Everyone sit down. I'm sorry. My name is Jim Johnson, and every time I see a microphone, I have to talk. And I want to say something about all the talks that I've done. I'm in the process of putting them on YouTube. I've got my cards over here somewhere. And email me and I'll let you know about it. But specifically, what I'd like to say, going through that tour and hearing all the history of this great church reminds me of a project I'm involved in, and I have been in for years. I am writing a book about the Barney family, which has a lot to do here, and it is such an interesting family. You think they built railroad cars, they did a lot more than that. I was also a volunteer in Woodland, as Angie knows. I was a volunteer in Woodland, and one of my favorite spots in those Woodland tours was the Barney family plot. It was such an amazing plot. And the one thing I want to tell you about that book, in the Barney family plot, is a very famous daughter-in-law of the Barney family who was a painter. She was a famous painter, so famous that she had an art gallery, a salon in Washington, D.C., which is still there. And she also has a painting, not out on the floor, but she has a painting which is still there at the Dayton Art Institute. She was a world-renowned painter, and she is buried here in Dayton. That's my history edition for tonight. But I'm telling you, I'm going to do a talk on the Barney family.
Chuck, give me the microphone. So if you missed Chuck at PK earlier in November, he got a standing ovation, and I was in the audience, and people had tears in their eyes, and they were laughing the whole time. He is a renowned speaker. He will have you eating out of the palm of his hand. And I know I've missed so many people here, Galen and Betsy Wilson, Keith McAlpine, so hope to see you over at Bar Granada.